Like to bring in 1.5 million troops, 600,000 Army personnel, 346,000 Air Force personnel, and 332,000 Navy personnel to bring them all home. Like we have 1,400 combat aircraft that we recycle, that we take out. Like, oh, we have 1,400. Let's take 700 out.
Welcome to PolyPsych.org.
Almost there, just one more time.
Welcome to PolyPsych.org.
How do other countries fare as far as like the programs initiated within the military for continuing education? Like, you know how like, especially lately in the last, I'd say 10 years or so, one of the biggest draws to the military is paying for your college education.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Right out of high school, you enlist, and yes, you're going to be in infantry for a little while, but you're going to get your education paid for. I
think that goes towards military spending in general. So the United States spends $691 billion from 2012. We spent $691 billion on the military spending. Asia, to put it in perspective, which has a population of like over 1 billion. Actually, several billion, because it includes India as well, I think. Anyway, because it's Asia and Oceania. They spent $381 billion. So we spent double of what Asia did. Wow. The Middle East spends $127 billion. Europe spends $418 billion.
And this is their military costs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Africa and Central America don't even count. Like,
so what do you suppose that includes?
Together they spend like $100 billion. $691 billion gets you a mechanized military, an extremely mechanized military, one with the logistics that actually support it. A lot of people don't think of the logistics that go behind the military, but like the problem with moving a giant army is that you put them somewhere and you have to get stuff to them still. So like imagine if Asia, like with their $300 billion in spending, cut that in half because we're only talking about China. So say we're talking about $100 billion. That means if you put Chinese parachutes in the sky and you had Chinese boots on the ground in the United States, or not the United States because they couldn't get here because we're savages. Let's say they were in Africa, Chinese boots in Africa, in South Africa, full-blown war. Like they're trying to take as much as possible. The logistics of getting a sandwich from the mainland China to South Africa over and over and over again, you can't handle it. Not with $100 billion. Not with $100 billion. So if you want to be prepared for a world war, like completely ready for it, you need about almost $700 billion spent in your military. And that's what we do. Like it's not at all necessary. And if you talk to liberals, like you and I, we'd say let's just not.
We're all over
the
place. Like we've
got a military base everywhere. But like the world is tight and it's small and it's dangerous. Like it's very little separating us from the barbarians at the gate. Yeah. Like Russia will make moves if they feel that we are weak. And that's a real thing. However, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe the biggest protection against all of these other wars in the Middle East and wars with Russia, wars with China, maybe the best thing for us is economic prosperity. Maybe the best thing is to take the $691 billion and take half of it and spend it on our military. We spend more than the next 13 countries combined, and like 12 of them are our allies. Like, is it really necessary to be prepared for an all-out war with another world power? One that if their energy sector went wrong, they could crash. Because Russia right now, if their natural gas and oil supply was cut off, that's it for Russia. You don't have to worry about them anymore. Like the world itself, so it's almost like they're on the precipice of war, almost at any time.
Like most countries that are not on our side anyway are already having a hard time just staying afloat.
Yeah, we're not like we talk about Russia like this. It is a big bad thing. Yeah, but like, and Putin does make strange moves. But there's a political theory where leaders make moves because to stay in power. So if you look at it from the idea of game theory, is that you have to look at it from what is he trying to do from his end. Like you have to almost look at the world through his eyes. Like why would he want to make this move? And his main goal is to stay in power. Okay, so Russia right now, like their energy sector is their biggest piece. Like if that was threatened, they would have to retaliate. They would have to do something to protect that. Because if that crashed, that's it for Russia. That's it for him, which means that Vladimir Putin, unlike the United States where you just get voted out of office, like they're going to hang him and his family from a bridge. So like look at it from his eyes. Like, oh, my energy is threatened. It looks like I'm going to have to take another country.
Yeah.
It looks like I'm going to have to do something.
Yeah.
Okay?
He can't go backwards.
So
basically.
like the conservative argument is if there's this monster on the throne on the other side of the world, and at any time he could go and take Crimea, just take it, then like maybe we should have like our missiles lined up and ready. And by the way, the like experts agree that if Russia decided to like march on Europe and start taking things, that we are not prepared as of right now with the $691 billion that we spend, which goes back to the liberal
we should
argument
not be
of like, what do we do?
unprepared for anything.
Yeah, $691 billion. That goes back to the liberal argument of like, what are we even doing then?
Yeah,
if we're spending $600 billion
exactly.
and we're still not if we're still not ready, like let's just stop doing that. You know what $700 billion gets you? Pick a thing. Because all of it.
Yeah. I was just thinking like, one possibility might be what if we tighten it up as far as tighten up our bases and bring them much closer to home. And I think that would maybe save quite a bit of money, actually. You wouldn't have as many bases, wouldn't need as many as how many we have across the world. But you could take the money that you save from funding all of these bases and you put it into like intel or weapons or, I don't know, more soldiers. But they'd be here, being my point. In that, so I think it would save more money. It would tighten up the defense, and I think that's what we need to be more concerned about, anyways, rather than like playing toy soldier and placing our little flags all over the world. Like, I don't think that's necessary, especially if, like you said, it's not producing, it's not doing any good anyways. Should the worst happen?
It depends on how you look at it. Because like when something around the world happens, everybody like looks up like, oh, when is the United States going to get here?
I hate that. I hate that.
If there's a genocide and it's in, but don't you? Okay, so let's take the genocide example. If there's a genocide in, I don't know, Nigeria, or like in Lithuania or Botswana or freaking somewhere in South America. Yeah. Like if let's say it was in South America, if there was a genocide in Brazil and they decided that these favelas have got to go, so they said we're going to burn them down.
Who is?
In Brazil.
Okay.
No, or vice versa. The people in the favela said, hey, I don't want to live in a favela anymore, and they started marching on the rest of Brazil. Like, everyone not good for them. Everyone would look up and say, hey, where's the United States? Where are they? Like, when are they going to stop this genocide? And while the United Nations have their feet firmly in concrete, like
we're not the babysitters. We're not the world's babysitters.
Don't you have a moral responsibility?
No.
You have 1.5 million troops. Don't you have the moral responsibility to stop a genocide if you can? Like in Rwanda, the problem is that like people were like the cost to stop the Rwandan genocide was so low. Like we did not need to put boots on the ground. We could have done because they were organizing the genocide via the radio stations. Like we could have literally we could have blew up their radio like towers, and we may have been able to stop it with just a missile. Yeah. Granted, the missile is like what, $12,000, $5,000?
I don't know. Probably a good deal. I'm thinking it's a lot, but
I'll probably look it up later. But the missile, we could have blown up a few radio towers and saved like thousands of lives. So like, don't we have the more responsibility to, hey, this is a thing happening in South America. We've got to stop this.
We have the luxury of not only, yes, we have this great military, but that's not our only asset. That's not our only contribution to the world stage, to the world's stability and safety. We also have a reasonable government, like a pretty solid structure as far as that's concerned. We've got people, we've got experts, intelligence experts all over and everywhere. We've got ambassadors in all kinds of countries who are supposed to be spokespeople for our country, who are supposed to be the ones who can have that quick, immediate fact sheet basically on the problem and the crisis in whatever country it's happening in. Like, shoot that over in an email over to like our home base. Let us figure out, like, good strategies and send it back to their military. It's not for us to go and solve every problem in every country.
Let's not talk about these issues like it's or these problems overseas as if it's like just their problem. Like, because
they are a world problem.
No. I'm not even saying morally. I'm not even saying take morals all the way completely out of the equation. Like, if Venezuela had an uprising, that's our oil supply,
right?
Like, if there's a problem in the Middle East, and you cut off,
I'm sure that comes into play a lot of times.
Like, geopolitics is a beast. If you cut off the oil from the Middle East, that's it for the American economy. Right. If gas is $14 a gallon, we're done.
It's not to say let's do this or let's just send them best wishes. Like, I'm saying that it's not always about send the military over. And if we didn't have bases in every country, we would still find a way to defend our vested interests. It wouldn't have to, and maybe, just maybe, we would be able to find a peaceful solution to these crises. Right, because the forceful physical solution would not be so readily available, that our hand would be forced, and other countries' hands would be forced as well to try and come to a peaceful solution, a more intellectual solution that involves numbers and compromise and things like that, rather than like call in the bomb squad. Like, that shouldn't be the first like knee-jerk reaction anyways, but it seems like it certainly helps when the Venezuelan president gets on the horn with our president and says we got an uprising. Well, it certainly helps when there's like troops already in Venezuela just sitting around waiting for something to happen, sitting around waiting to patrol something. Like, president's like, well, get them going. Like, just, send them going. That's what we pay them for. But if that weren't the first reaction, maybe it's more like, well, why the uprising? What are the demands?
If you took away that threat, though, of American retaliation, things might get strange. If America just decided, like, hey, we're done. We're not going to attack anyone anymore. We're finished. Yeah. Like, we're recalling all of our military. Stuff will go weird. So Maduro in Venezuela is not a fan. He's not a fan of ours.
Not a fan of ours?
Not a fan.
Why?
It's a long story. We do weird things.
What if we took? But it wouldn't be a matter of taking away the threat, because of course we're still here. We still have the numbers. We still have the funding. We still have the weapons. Everything is just home now. Mm-hmm. So instead, we're not taking away the threat. We're just taking away what you know about us. So we're still there. We're still an imminent threat.
That's interesting.
It's not a matter of like, America's gone, the cat's away, the mice will play. Now it's a matter of the cat could show up at any time from anywhere.
That's interesting. So there's that, like, I don't know what you would call that, like Operation Beehive. Like, if somebody, the idea is bring all of your troops home, and if anything happens in the world that threatens the United States, you can mobilize them and send them overseas if necessary.
Deemed necessary. And there would be a little bit more of a process in between, because of course it's going to be more expensive to ship them off from Virginia off all the way over to Africa every 3 weeks.
A lot of things would be considered necessary. Like,
yeah,
would
they be considered when it's going to cost that much to get them from Virginia all the way over to Africa? Will everything be considered necessary as it already is now? Because right now everything is considered necessary as far as for military mobilization. But maybe
the idea is that, like, the preemptive. So there's been this thing ever since the Bush administration to stop the problem over there before it even gets started. Like, fight them over there. It evolved from fight them over there so we don't have to fight them over here to fight them over there before they get started. Like, before it gets bad over there, which it makes sense. Like, if you look at ISIS, like, that's a thing. Like, it would have been nice to have stopped them before they even got started. But maybe drone strikes actually made the situation that much worse. And I do like the idea of bringing all of the troops home and then having the operation where they could be mobilized and sent anywhere in the world, like, quickly to, like, put out the fire and then come back home. Yeah. But I don't even know if that's the perfect fix for that. like to bring in 1.5 million troops, 600,000 Army personnel, 346,000 Air Force personnel, and 332,000 Navy personnel to bring them all home. Like we have 1,400 combat aircraft that we recycle, that we take out. Like, oh, we have 1,400. Let's take 700 out, and like because they're outmoded. Like there's a new aircraft, so we got to get rid of a giant chunk of our machines, and then we got to update them. Yeah. So like we spend $700 billion, but a lot of that is just updating the equipment. And guess what? We're still like in need of more equipment.